Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting of Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. It's a little after 6 o'clock. We are conducting this meeting virtually because of the COVID-19 restrictions currently in place, but we hope to be back together again soon. So I'll officially call the meeting to order. And we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and followed by the invocation. Is there anybody who'd like to volunteer to lead the pledge or the invocation today? Seeing none, I'll do it myself. All right, well, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance then. All rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we'll have just a quick moment of prayer before our meeting as well. Dear Lord, please give us the wisdom to make decisions that are in the best interest of everyone in our community. Help us to be very inclusive in our decisions. Help us to make choices that we will all be proud of when we reflect on them in the future. In thy name we pray, amen. All right, the first item on the agenda then is going to be the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, June 8th. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Can I have a motion to approve from someone, please?
I move the agenda be approved as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Dagenhart, a second from Commissioner Hickson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the agenda is approved. The second item on the agenda is going to be the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Our previous meeting was on May 12th, 2020, and those meetings have been distributed. If anybody's had a chance to look at them, are there any additions, deletions, or corrections that need to be noted? All right, then I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. And again, we'll just do this by a voice vote. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Opposed? Okay. All right, the first item of new business then is going to be the rezoning of 125 Lynn Road, being property tax map 053C, Group B, parcel 012.00. And the rezoning request is from I-1, which is light industrial district, to B3, supporting central business district. So I'm going to turn it over to staff to give us a presentation on this, please.
Commissioners, I want to make sure, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. This is a request to, something is not right. Okay. This is a request to rezone a piece of property at 125 Lynn Road from I-1 light industrial to B3, supporting central business district. The I-1 zoning district, as indicated by its very name, light industrial, is generally meant for uses, industrial uses that are totally contained within the building. So you don't have any outdoor storage, outdoor manufacturing or processing activities going on. The B3 supporting central business district, generally meant for uses that support the central business district. And they are often light intensity or low intensity commercial uses or residential uses, and the supporting central business district being downtown. As you see on this map, the property we're looking at, this is the general vicinity of the area that we're dealing with. This is West Market Street. This is the Walmart on West Market Street. This is Leisure Street going up to this industrial area. Leisure Street turns into Industrial Drive, and then it comes down on Lynn Road. And that property is right here on Lynn Road, opposite a manufactured home park and directly behind this multifamily development. This property right here, the map, Google Earth is still showing it as vacant, but that is where Discount Tire is currently located on this site. So that's the general vicinity, that's the property that we're looking at. You see on this particular map, it shows the site. The applicant intends to develop this property for 5 single-family. It will be a multi-family development, but kind of designed with separate individual units. So it's a multi-family development, 5 units, 2 bedrooms each, all of them situated on that one lot. They are meant to be rented. He's not going to subdivide these and sell them off to individuals to own the properties. So they're all going to be rented. 2 bedrooms. This particular site, currently, the map you have on your screen, that is the current land use classification in this particular district. The black line you see here going down, that is the Gateway Overlay District on both sides. It extends 300 feet on either side of West Market Street. This is the property occupied by Discount, the Discount Tire Shop. This B3 zoning district, the property already zoned B3, that is where we have the multifamily development to the south of this property. And then across the street, this is where you've got Walmart. So the general character of the area is residential. This is the multifamily, the mobile home park. So you've got residential around surrounding this property to the south, to the west, to the north, and you've got industrial development, you see right in purple, and all these other properties are currently vacant. They are undeveloped, so to speak. This area was annexed into the city in March 1980 and immediately zoned I1. So since 1980 to today, the zoning of this piece of property has never changed. It has remained I1 as it was brought into the city back then. The future land use map designates this property for commercial development, which the B3 zoning district will be in line with. Lynn Road is a small, appears like a small county road. This is the Discount Tire that I was talking about. Appears like a small county road. Currently, with the developments that are going on, beginning from Discount Tire, we have a sidewalk being constructed, extending upward, but it just ends. Right now, it just ends on that property. Lynn Road really does not have capacity for industrial traffic, trucks, and other heavy vehicles. It's not built for that kind of traffic. So essentially, the industrial traffic accessing this area, this light industrial area, goes in through Leisure Lane, turns on Industrial Drive. They don't use Lynn Road because it's just too small. It's only really meant for residential development. This particular, the proposed use, staff believes that the proposed use is consistent with the future land use map, which designates this property for commercial development. B3 zoning district, you can have either low intensity commercial development or you can have multifamily residential development in the B3 zoning district. So the B3 is consistent with the future land use map of this property. The B3 will also serve as a transitional zone between the B4 that immediately adjoins West Market Street and the industrial area to the north. It will be improper, although the developer is proposing to use this property for a residential development, it will be improper to zone this property, let's say R3, any of the residential zoning district, because that will be introducing a residential zone between a commercial district and an industrial district, which is just incompatible. When we zone property, it's not just for the proposed use. We have to look at all the other potential uses that can go on that site. There will be no significant traffic impact on Lynn Road because 5 units, 2 bedrooms, staff has done the calculation. That is basically 48 trips, weekday trip per day. And it's really significantly low traffic. It will not have any negative impact on the capacity of Lynn Road. The proposed use is compatible with adjoining multi-family development to the south. And this will not be spot zoning. It will simply consist in extending the B3 zoning district northward to this property. Staff recommends approval.
Okay, are there any questions of staff at this time from anybody?
Hassan, what's the density allowed for residential in a B4 or a B3 zoning?
14 dwelling units per acre.
Okay, 14.
14, yes. It follows the same density requirement or density restriction for the R01 zoning district, which is 14 dwelling units per acre.
You said it's the same density as R01?
Yes.
And what about R3 density?
The R3 density is 7 dwelling units per acre.
Okay.
So the medium, you've got 2 different levels of medium density residential. You've got the R03 and the R04. The R03 is 7 dwelling units per acre. The R04 is 14 dwelling units per acre.
Okay. So even though we're zoning, or the request is a zone B3, it is going to be used for residential purpose. If it would still conform to R3 density with the current site plan in place. Yes.
The zoning ordinance specifies the density requirement or density restriction for residential development in the B3 zoning district.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Are there additional questions of staff?
Hey, Song, was there any comments for the neighborhood meeting?
No, sir. And put up the sign. I've not received any call from that neighborhood from anybody.
Has there been any feedback submitted via email or phone?
No. No feedback received on these rezoning requests, ma'am, from the public.
I don't know where we landed on the, this looks like another one of the private drive type developments. I know we had a committee that was looking at that, as long, you know, with certain issues like trash cans and city services being able to access these units. I know we don't have to have a concept plan, I guess, is what your comments were in a B3, but could you comment on how you think that's going to play out with the shared driveway? Is that going to be a feature of this development from what you understand?
I think the current regulations were on the private drive were really written to take care of developments like this. If the developer was proposing to subdivide these units such that each person could buy and own them, then that would be an act of subdivision. The subdivision regulations will come into play, and he will have to construct the access way going in as a private drive. At least it will have to be to the standard of a private drive. But because these will not be a development involving an act of subdivision, so individuals will not be owning these 5 units. They will just be rented. They will remain under one ownership, and that one person, just like every other student apartment. So this will just be a driveway. It will not be a street or a private drive. And just as you have for student apartments, they will have to do the full engineering plan on this. And there's still a lot of work. Once this is rezoned, they have to submit a full set of engineering plans that shows parking, landscaping, location of their dumpster enclosure. all of that will have to be on site, just as you have for any other apartment. That's basically the way this is going to be.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
So the buffering comes at a later stage, is that correct? Is that what I understand you say?
Yes, and strictly speaking, the buffering here will really be at the discretion of the property owner, which staff will recommend that the property owner put in the buffering. The way our code is written, the developer of a higher impact use is the one that provides the buffer. So let's say this property adjoins an industrial use. The industrial use is higher impact than the residential use. So if somebody were doing an industrial development adjoining a residential use, it would be that developer of the industrial development who would be required to provide a buffer. When you're developing a low impact use compared to the adjoining property, it's really at your discretion. And I think based on the character of this area, staff will advise the developer to provide a buffer.
All right, thanks, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Hassan, are those buffer requirements retroactive? For instance, if there's already an industrial use building in place and then this residential use goes in, will the industrial use property be required to come in and add a buffer?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
And that's why it will really be on the developer of this piece of property to go ahead and provide his buffer.
Thank you. Are there other? Go on, Jamie.
Are we looking for a motion?
Do we need to hold a public hearing on this, Hassan?
Yes, ma'am. All rezonings on the planning commission, you open it up for public comments, if they say.
Okay, so are we equipped to do that like we did last time with a call-in number or something if anybody wishes to speak?
Yes.
Or
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so let's open it up to a public meeting to see if there is anyone in the public that wishes to provide any kind of input. And if you do, we now have a phone number online as well as email for you to contact us. And we'll give just a minute and then ask Wendy if there's anybody online. Okay, do we have anybody on the phone or?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am? Okay. All right, then seeing no interest, I am going to assume that we can close the public meeting for this one. And I will open it up for any additional comments from the commissioners regarding this. If there are none, then we'll be looking for a motion.
I move we approve the rezoning of 125 Lynn Road from I-1 light industrial to B3 zoning.
Okay, we have a motion for Commissioner Dagenhart. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second from Commissioner Hickson. Hassan, do we need to state anything in addition with that motion at this time, or is it sufficient just to make the motion for the rezoning?
The motion is sufficient, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, then we have a motion and a second. We'll have Nicole please reread that and then call the roll.
The motion is to approve as stated, or I'm sorry, motion to approve as presented. And Commissioner Dagenhart?
Is this a vote?
Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
Commissioner Harrell?
He's on mute.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Hickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Pavlich?
Yes.
Commissioner Wild,
Yes.
and Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
A motion is approved as presented.
All right. Moving on to our second item of new business then, it is to consider the abandonment of the right-of-way of an alley between 1408 Virginia Street and 1412 Virginia Street.
Commissioners, hope you still see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is a request from the
Oh,
adjoining.
We're just seeing a screen that has your name right now, Hassan. Do you have anything else on it up yet?
Yes.
Oh,
Do
no,
you
we're not
see?
seeing that yet.
Do you see any map?
No.
Use your share screen again, Hassan.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna do that again.
Now we
That-
see it.
Now you see it. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry about that. This is a request from the owner of the property at 1408 Virginia Street that the city abandoned the public right-of-way of an alley that extends from Virginia Street to University Parkway. This alley lies in this general vicinity. This is the precise location. It's 30 feet wide, 215 feet long. It is undeveloped. There is a portion of the driveway for the property at 1412 Virginia Street. That's also shared by 1408 that lies on this alley. And both property owners are in agreement. In other words, the journey requesting that the city abandon this alley. The reason for the request is the property slopes southward. There is water coming down from this area entering into the foundation of this property. And this property owner intends to grade that area in order to divert the water from the foundation of the house. Secondly, he intends to use the fee simple, part of the fee simple of this property to build a garage in this area that will meet setback requirements. The different utility agencies, different departments reviewed this particular request. Apart from water and sewer, all other departments and agencies had no issue with the city abandoning the right-of-way. As you see on this map, this is the area proposed for abandonment. There is a 16-inch, that's a significant water line that crosses the alley. And there is also an existing water service line from this 6-inch up to the middle right here. This is on the ground. See this blue spot, that's the water line. It goes like this onto this property. So the water and sewer department recommends that if the city were to abandon these easements, adequate easements should be provided for the servicing of these two lines, because the 16-inch line is significantly big. 10 feet wide easement on both sides of this line will be required or will be needed, and a 7.5 feet wide easement on both sides of this other smaller service line will be needed. In terms of potential transportation use of this alley, the lines you see here in Oxblood, Burgundy, these are alleys that have been abandoned in this area already. And if you look at it, generally, alleys extend to the back of properties. Property owners use them to access their properties from the rear. As in this case, where you have this alley is still open, you can see the driveway going through, providing access to these properties from the back. The same thing, it's happening here where you have these alleys. You have an alley here and you have access to these properties from the back. In this case, the alley is not providing any access to the rear of a property. It's rather sandwiching two properties in your side. Secondly, the distance, this alley is mid-block. The distance from the alley to Franklin Street is 320 feet. If this alley were at the end of this block, or this alley was providing this interconnection at the end of the block to University Parkway, then that would be a right of way that is highly needed for interconnectivity in this neighborhood. But being a mid-block alley, just 320 feet from a street intersection, it really doesn't have any significant potential transportation use. Lastly, at the edge of the alley adjoining University Parkway, it is pretty steep going down there. You have this ravine. So it would be significantly costly to go out there and extend this alley, which staff thinks would be unnecessary, onto University Parkway. Based on the fact that the alley doesn't really have significant potential transportation use in this particular area, staff recommends abandonment of the alley with the reservation of a 10-feet utility easement on both sides of this 16-inch water line and a 7-feet utility easement on both sides of this existing water service line.
Okay. Are there questions of staff at this time? Hassan, I have one question.
Yes,
the existing alley is 30 feet wide, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And the water department is recommending that an easement of 10 feet on either side of the water line be maintained. So that would be a 20-foot easement?
Total, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so would that still give the homeowner at, I don't remember if it was 1408 or 1412, the enough additional space to build that garage that he's wanting to build to meet the setback requirements? Because it seems like he's only going to gain 5 feet before he would be going into right-of-way, unless I'm misunderstanding.
Yes, ma'am, he will still have enough space. The 10 feet easement will be on either side of this line at this location. So it will extend this direction and that
We can't see
direction.
your screen. Can you share your screen again to show us what you're talking about, please?
Sorry about that. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the water line that we need to reserve the 10 feet drainage and utility, 10 feet easement for. So the 10 feet will be on this side and on this side.
Oh, okay. So it is going to, it's perpendicular to the current alley.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where was he, Asong, planning to place the garage?
He is planning, the house is right here. He's planning to place a garage in this location. It will be somewhere in this location.
Okay,
So
and
I'm sorry, sir.
the 7.5-foot easement on each side of the existing water service line would still leave him room for his garage.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The garage will just have to be as large as it can get before he touches that easement. He cannot put the garage on top of the easement.
Song, how common is it to have alleyways on the sides of properties, of lots, of residential lots? Is this something that we've seen a lot of? Have you looked into that?
Not very common, although it happens. I'm trying to get back to my screen here. If you look at this, are you see my screen, please?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you. If you look at this map, just in terms of the general vicinity, this alley, for example, was on the side, not in the rear. This one was also on the side, not in the rear. Right here is in the rear, but this one was on the side. This one was also going down on the side. This was in the rear. This was on the side. That was kind of both side and rear, you can say, side with respect to these two properties. This in the rear. It's more common to have it on this, it's in the rear. If you look at this area, all of these were in the side. So it just depends on how the developer of this subdivision, maybe 100 years ago, 75 years ago, kind of envisioned this area to function or wanted it to function. but didn't actually develop those alleys. It's more common to have them in the rear than in the side. It's far more common to have them in the rear than on the side of properties.
What would be the benefit to having, this is more just for my educational purposes, and then I'll be quiet and then try to keep this to a short meeting. What are the generally accepted benefits to having an alley in the side of your property?
If you have a situation where, because of the topography,
Okay.
especially in the front yard, adjoining property owners are unable to have a driveway, a good driveway down to the road, then an alley to the side can provide access to both lots. It becomes kind of a shared access easement, but in this case, it's a public right of way. So that is common. You can have that. It's generally a matter of topography, or where there was possibility that the alley could be extended in future to some other adjoining lots and adjoin those properties in their rear.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say in this area, whatever time that this was developed, just assuming that this was all vacant, and the developer probably thought, oh, it's possible that in future this can be developed and lots may be laid out in this area, and this alley can extend further this way on the rear of properties. Then he may propose this alley to serve as kind of interconnectivity from the rear of those properties onto Virginia Street.
Mm-hmm.
So you have those different scenarios.
Makes sense. So is it fair to say that before this abandonment request is approved, that we could drive, any citizen could drive right down the middle of those two properties by right of the public's right to access that alley?
Absolutely. It's a public right of way. Any citizen has a right to use it.
So that's bad.
Hassan, there's not a curb cut there though, is there? Coming off University
No.
Parkway?
On University Parkway?
Yeah, there's not a curb cut there.
No, there's no curb cut on University Parkway. The alley is undeveloped.
Yeah, so the likelihood of anyone driving through there is slim to none. Is that correct?
No, yeah, absolutely. Somebody's not going to drive down on it. Somebody could walk on it. I've actually had a call once on somebody in the city, in the neighborhood, was thinking that having a case of trespassing on the property. And when we looked, we found out there was actually an alley there. If you've got an alley, any member of the property of the public can walk on that right of way. Cannot be stopped. It's not private property.
That's bad.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Are there additional questions of staff?
I'm going to check my deed and make sure I don't have an alley running down the side of my property, I think, later today.
Okay, Aslan, do we need to have a public hearing for this, or?
Yes, ma'am. We need to open it up to the public.
Okay, if there's no additional questions of staff at this time, then we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing in case anybody has any input, any questions, concerns, or wants to express an opinion. All right, can I confirm that no one has stepped up to the podium?
Yes, no one's there.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no one wishes to speak, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing again then. And we'll reopen it for discussion amongst commissioners or a motion from anybody.
I move to approve the abandonment of the right-of-way of the alley between the public right-of-way of the alley between 1408 Virginia Street and 1412 Virginia Street as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hickson. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second by,
Commissioners, I appeal that the reservation of the easements be included in that motion.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to also include an approval of the two easements as stated, one being 10 feet for the 16-inch line and 7.5 feet for the access water line.
Okay, we have an amended motion. Gary, do you still second that?
Sure.
Okay. All right, is there any other discussion before we take it to a vote? All right, then I'll ask Nicole to please call the roll.
Commissioner Dagenhart,
Yes.
Commissioner Harrell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hickson,
Yes.
Commissioner Pavlich,
Yes.
Commissioner Wild,
Yes.
Commissioner Calhoun.
Yes.
Motion approved as stated.
All right. Next item on the agenda would be any planning commission subcommittee reports. Are there any to be presented at this meeting?
We do not have reports at this time, but in the course of the month, the long range committee, Matt will be calling for a meeting of the long range committee to discuss the comprehensive plan, the bridge plan. There is work that staff has been doing on that, and it's important that we move forward on that. So please expect an email convening that meeting. Secondly, we've reserved, or the Planning Commission reserved, I think for July, that will be July 1st at 5 p.m., where we normally have the standing committee meetings of the Planning Commission. We have an item for possible consideration amendment to the zoning code. That would have normally been considered or ordinarily been considered by the Legislative and Policy Committee. But I think the three members of that committee are General Herrera, Dr. Zan, and Commissioner Calhoun. And it's my understanding that this is Dr. Zan's last meeting and General Herrera. So we will be left with only Commissioner Calhoun on July 1st. Now, this particular item involved residential development too. For that reason, staff intends to request, or staff requests that the Land Use and Transportation Committee please fill in for that meeting on July 1st at 5 p.m.
Okay, and will you be sending out information to all of the commissioners in case anyone wishes to attend?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, and that's July 1st at 5 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other reports at this time? All right, well, before there's any motions, oh, I'm sorry, Nicole, were you trying to speak?
No.
Oh, did somebody? Okay, before there are any, before there is a motion to adjourn, I do want to take the opportunity to thank General Harrell very much for his service. I understand this is your last meeting. I did speak with Dr. Zions this morning. He was very disappointed he couldn't be with us. He was going to be in a very complicated surgery that he expected to last quite a while this evening. So he was sorry that he was not able to chair his last meeting as it's being held. But again, we certainly want to thank him for his service and his contributions, because I think they've been very significant.
Thank you, Stacy.
Well, thank you, Gary. We appreciate all of your service in many ways.
Thank you, General.
Absolutely. You're here.
Thank you.
And I think you planning commissioners might have also received an email from Nicole on iCompass training. Nicole, do you want to say something about that, please?
Oh, sure. We are officially going completely digital with our new iCompass. And Commissioner Calhoun can probably tell you how wonderful it is. Yes,
It
please.
is. I promise. It's so easy. You just turn it on and open it up, and there it is.
See, it's so great. So I was trained on it today, and I'm really excited because it's going to make my life much easier as well. So we will have, with the new planning commissioners coming on board, we're going to have an orientation on Wednesday, July the 8th at 9 o'clock. And we would like, I'll send out an invite for all planning commissioners that would like to attend, because we will be going over iCompass in more detail at that orientation. And it's also good if you just want to be refreshed for your planning commission duty to attend the orientation, but I'll be sending more information out on that. And I will also be sending you a how to create a portal login. We got a little glitch right now, so I could not send that out today, but hopefully by the end of the week, I'll be able to send that to everyone. And you can just get in there and play with it. You can't mess anything up. So it's fun. And you can also look at all the other boards and commissions that are going on, and it's a really good thing for the city. It's very transparent. So that's coming soon. So July, I won't be sending out any PDFs in July. It'll be all through iCompass. So any questions you have, just give me a holler.
No more asking to mail my packet, Nicole.
No.
All right. Are there any other announcements, reports? In that case, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Yay, Gary. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good week.
Thanks, Dr.
You
Bob.
too.
Thank you.
Hey, Larry, don't hang up yet.
Okay.